Imagine being 9 years old, being told by your mother that she is taking you out of school, away from your friends, your family, and literally life as you know it. Well, unfortunately for me, I don't have to imagine it. Let me tell you my story. And before you all panic, it really wasn't that bad. 27th July 2012, my mother and I embarked on a 366-day journey through 10 countries. We started safely in America and Canada. From there, though, it got a little bit more risky as we stepped foot into the great unknown, South America and Southeast Asia. It took me totally out of my comfort zone. I obviously can't go through all of the countries that we went to, but here's a detailed list. We traveled by boat, bus, train, plane, and even bicycle. I've chosen to tell you stories that made an impact on me as a 9-year-old. Obviously, if I was to do this again, my memories would be completely different. New York was exactly how I imagined it. We stayed in a cramped apartment in Brooklyn. In the mornings, we would skate through Central Park, and in the evenings, our days would be filled with Broadway shows and opera. Out of all of those experiences, though, my favorite was going to the laundromat. I felt like I was a true New Yorker. My favorite part of the entire world trip was traveling from Toronto to Thunder Bay over 5 days with one of my mom's oldest childhood friends. Deline really made the trip adventurous. We chose to sleep outside while my mother slept comfortably in the cabin. One day, we swam out to this island and pretended to be castaways. South America was so different to me. The people, the language, the culture, and the food, which doesn't bode well for a picky eater. In the mornings, we would go to Spanish schools, and in the afternoon, we would roam the city, like here, when we were at the equator, and I could balance an egg perfectly on the nail without even trying. The Amazon jungle is something I'm glad I've done, but will never do again. It is filled with creepy crawlies literally bigger than your head. I still managed to get up to my usual mischief, though. Our poor guide was petrified that I would fall victim to one of the poisonous frogs. I was so enamored with them and their bright colors. One day, he took me on a private adventure where we spent the day fishing in a dugout canoe. Believe it or not, but we managed to catch one singular piranha with a makeshift fishing rod. Ironically, though, it was this pufferfish who decided to take a bite out of me. It wasn't that bad, though, because I'm here to tell the tale. Machu Picchu ranks high on my list. We stayed in Angas Calientes for 7 days, and we visited Machu Picchu multiple times. In the early morning, midday, and late afternoon. It is magical how different it looks depending on what time of day you go. The trip up and down was straight out of Final Destination, I'll tell you that much. Spending Christmas on Easter Island will always be special to me. There was one paved road on the entire island, and my mother, being herself, made us stay on a farm outside of the town. This is where I learned how to drive a four-wheeler, taking years of my mother's life every time I sped past her. You will soon find out why I felt so at home in isolated places like this. The Moyas were the islanders' ancestors. They were there to keep them safe. They faced inland because the islanders believed that if harm would come, it would come from inside the island because they thought they were the only people on the planet. This is the traveling Moyai who travels the world to collect funds for restorations on the island. In Thailand, we stayed in a small village just shy from the beach with not many tourists. We decided to take a Tai Chi course. Our coach actually ended up being from Zimbabwe. We made friends with a man called Jet Li, who's giving me Chinese cupping. It's really not that sore, but me being the token drama queen of the family, I cried anyways. As I mentioned earlier, I was a very picky eater, which was a huge issue. Most days, I only ate ensure. My mother came up with a plan. Take me on as many cooking courses as possible, so I'd be more willing to eat different food. This worked extremely well, until one day, when we were out collecting ingredients for our next meal, I was asked to pick out a live chicken. Unfortunately, though, my critical thinking skills hadn't come in just yet, so you can imagine my horror when its head was chopped off right in front of me. At that point, I ran away crying. A year and a day later, and we were back home to another isolated village called New Bethesda, where I grew up. We got back to the coldest winter ever, living in a house with no bathroom and terrifying red Romans. My mother decided to unschool me for most of the Bethesda years. I did go to hostel for 1 year, and I absolutely adored it. I worked in her restaurant, the Ibis Lounge, until I was 14 years old. We always had a friendly competition going to see who would get the biggest tips, and yes, it was always me. The reason we came back from our travels was because my grandfather had to get a deep brain surgery to help combat his Parkinson's. If it wasn't for him, I'm convinced we would still be traveling. He's a big reason as to why I chose the career path that I have. I now work at an end-of-life hospital. Our patients range from a young man, not much older than me, whose life was absolutely devastated by an accident, to residents just shy of 100 years old. The work is extraordinarily tough, but it really is my passion. I've made some amazing friends, and I love all of my patients to bits. So, where to from now? I intend to get my nursing degree, specializing in emergency care. I don't know if it was my life experiences that have led me here, or if I was born to do this. Either way, I cannot wait to see where this path takes me. I'm gonna cry. What I do know is that I would not be where I am today without my mom. She consciously and consistently took the path less chosen for me, and I cannot be more appreciative of that. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have such an amazing life, with such amazing friends and such an amazing partner. Thank you.